In the land that time forgot, in an
Dun, dun,
age
dun.
before the heterosexual man, two titans of tea ruled with whimsy and mild judgment. This is their stories and their really silly talk show. It's I, the Grand Arbiter, Master of Tea and Ceremonies, with my performing partner and companion of all companions, Madame Askew.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome to Tea Tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. It's so wonderful to be back here with all of you. It is the last day of February and our last tea of February.
A February that time should have forgotten, right? A February that feels like time did forget. It evaporated in our hands,
Yes.
quickly destroyed our spirits, and then we resurrected ourselves through dark magic and, of course, acts of vicious necromancy.
I mean, that is essentially what we had to do. We had no choices but necromancy. Good evening,
Well, actually,
darling.
we didn't actually have all the tools for necromancy, so we could only do necrofancy. That's when you resurrect only cute dead boys.
Cute. Oh, I love necrofancy.
Necrofancy.
It is much better.
And I necrofancy you.
Oh, I necrofancy you, Grand Arbiter. And yes, it is a bat hat tonight, partly because it just goes really well with the whole setup. And I was like, ooh, red and black. That seems nice. But also next month, well, starting tomorrow is next month. But
we're on the hype train. We're on the hype train. Choo choo hype train.
We're so excited. We're going to Wild West Con, and so many of you are joining us there. The theme this year is Halloween. And so I'm here.
It's All Hallows Eve, baby.
Yes, yes. This is the Bat Hat. Hello.
Well, and you know, sewing the mystery secret costume.
Yes.
Is making you batty.
That's true. It is. It is. Also, very much this every day is Halloween when you're part of the necrofancy gang.
Hashtag necrofancy. Make sure you go onto all your social medias and talk about how Madame Askew and the Grand Arbiter talked about necrofancy and the resurrection of cute dead boys.
Yes. You know, what I love about this is it has absolutely nothing to do with our Patreon's corner later.
No, it has nothing to do with it. Nothing at all.
Dead fancy. That's us with dead fancy. I love that.
But yes, we do have our Patrons Corner today. We will be getting to that. But before that, we have our list of honeydews, as we always do.
Yes, we do.
Wild West Con Splendid Peapot Racing signups is open. It's been secretly open for months, but now is officially open with a sign-up sheet.
And
you can sign up by clicking on the link on our Facebook page or Instagram, or you can bug us on the Discord, and we will make sure you get that sheet. If you haven't signed up, if you ask what is Splendid Teapot Racing, it's putting teapots on remote control vehicles and driving them through an obstacle course. It's very fancy. You might say it's necro fancy. Yes. Necrofancy is a special region of France. Otherwise, it is just sparkling dark magic. Yeah.
I've also dropped
I have to correct TK just a little bit. It's not sparkling. It's bubbling like muck.
Like muck.
Well, you know, sometimes we raise splendid peacocks too, sure.
If you bring a peacock, if you want to race, we won't stop you.
No, the sign-up sheet is available. It is on all places in which you can find us. And if you're like, I don't have it and I want it, it's here. We've posted in the comments. Also, I bet you can find us on Blue Sky and bug us there. There's lots of places you can find us to bug us. It's not
also, the link is available in our link tree, which is linked in my bio.
The linked tree.
On all of the
tree of many links.
Yes.
At some point we're gonna marry our link trees. We're gonna have a link tree marriage. It'll be quite beautiful.
A teapot racer that has a peacock scream as a horn does sound delightful. But also I love this. Peacock racing. I'm like, I would go to peacock racing. But also very much this subgothius.
It's not peacock racing though. It's peacock jaunting. They're going a little jaunt. We're not really egging them to. We're not really egging them to run very quickly. We're just watching them sort of meander through a garden.
Although, look, I do not want to torment any vendors, but this concept does give me so much joy, Alicia. Steampunks with fans pinned to their posteriors like they're peacocks, and they're like sauntering and sashaying and like peacocking through the halls and being ridiculous. Like, yes, I love this energy.
So if you haven't done Splendid Teapot Racing, it is one of what we call the steampunk triathlon, along with combat dueling and tea dueling. So if you are really interested in getting the trifecta of winning all three, you'll have to get good at making teapot racers. And sometimes it's just decorating very aggressively.
Right. Aggressive decoration.
Yes. Aggressive decoration works quite well.
Now, some people think that you have to be quite agile or to have very nimble fingers to do teapot racing. But the reality is anyone can do teapot racing. You do not have to be nimble or anything. You just have to have the audacity and a vision.
And it's not triathlon. It's more like the steampunk Triple Crown. They're separate runs.
Yes, I love that.
And if you compete in all three, you have won.
All the things.
Combat dueling is for the fearless or for the feared. I find that if you're very brave, you can do well in this contest. But if you, as I always remind you, murder the fear inside you, sneak up behind it and stab it in the back multiple times, and then hide its body in a river, you'll be fine.
Really good advice for a Halloween themed convention too.
Yeah. Or just a day in the week.
Yeah. And look, when you're done teapot racing with us and tea dueling with us and compliment dueling with us, look, there's a lot of games with us. You can sashay over and do parasol dueling and hamster wars with the lady scientists. So we have like a little bit of a miniature steampunk sporting spree happening at Wild West Con. It is a sterling crown. It is a sterling crown. That's what it is.
And we have some great awards this time. Now, we're not going to tell you anything about them just yet because they're secret. But I'm going to tell you right now, you want to compete in Splendid Teapot Racing. The prizes are insane. They're crazy. Yes. They're so good.
Yes.
So if you haven't gotten into it, you have time to make something. You have time.
You have time.
I'm just saying.
You have
time. And if you sign up and you're like, it didn't happen, that's okay. But just know that like you should make you experiment, try new things.
And my darlings, I am not going to comment on the current conversational topic in the chat on YouTube, but I'm so happy to see education and science.
It's not a river. I think it's not just a river. I think it's a bog. I think I'm looking for a bog. A bog's a good solution.
I love a bog. I love a bog. I don't want to be in the bog, but I like to be near the bog, beholding the bog.
You want to behold the bog.
Yeah, no. I'm like bog witch adjacent, so I can't be fully in the bog. It is the bog standard. It's true.
There's all sorts of bogs. Some need to be drained. Some of them don't. It's fine.
So
Then there's the bow bog. That's when you drain the bog too much, and then you get a bow bog.
A bow bog.
It's like a balrog, but it only comes from a bog. The bow bog.
When you go too far.
When you drain too deeply and too greedily.
Grand Arbiter, we are extra unhinged. I'm not certain I prepared everyone for this level of unhinged tonight. But it's delightful, and it's so wonderful to be here with all of you tonight, being unhinged. And
a balbog's breath is just really stinky. It doesn't have breath of flame. It has a breath of stinky.
And it does steam instead of flame. Absolutely. Don't follow the lights. Oh my goodness. My darlings, thank you for being unhinged with us as well tonight. It's apparently that kind of Friday evening.
It was a weird week, y'all. It was a weird week.
Oh, yes. Was it only a week? Because it feels like it's been...
it feels like it's been 3 hours and 2,000 years.
Yes, that is correct.
So that is what's coming up. You have a beautiful tea tomorrow.
I do. I have the most wonderful sip of tea. I've been very fortunate. This month we got to sit down with Emily Vincent from Pink Hawk, not Peacock, Pink Hawk Games. I realize we've been talking about peacocks a lot, and so those two things rhyme. But Pink Hawk Games, and we had a wonderful conversation about tabletop gaming and art and making the leap into being an artist. But tomorrow I'm joined by the wonderful visual artist Chaz Kemp, who does gorgeous steampunk art inspired by Art Nouveau as well as cyberpunk and all sorts of different kind of like fusion sci-fi art, as well as being a game designer. And so we're going to be talking about his art and his new gaming magazine for tabletop role-playing games and all sorts of things. Chaz is a delight, and he is going to be joining us at Wild West Con for the first time ever this year. So I'm very excited to introduce a bunch of you to him who have not had the opportunity to meet him at other conventions. He is wonderful. He's did the book covers for the re-releases of David Lee Summers' Scarlet Order books. So yeah, no, and it is the first one, Pink Hawk, like the raptor caw that comes for you, but with gaming pieces. And also, listen, the bogs thing, you don't ever have to be done with the bog jokes. We shall love them forever, although the Grand Arbiter has gone into a fugue state bog.
I'm fine. I'm present. I'm here. I'm listening. I'm participating. I'm just also trying to deal with a volume mixer. That's all.
I suppose that is a shrew, so I don't do a very good raptor sound. Is that like caw? I think
a shrew is more like a...
But I normally do caw for shrews. That's my signature move, Grand Arbiter.
I feel like you only have that one set. Like all birds make that noise. That's the only bird noise you can do.
That's true, actually. That's accurate.
Madame Askew is one of the most talented singers I know. But imitation of animal sounds is so not a thing she does. Like, I don't think she's not good at replicating animal sounds or any kind of sound that isn't like an aria. Like, she can sing a ballad, no problem. But if she wants to tell a story about how she ran into a bird, the only sound the bird can make is caw. The bird cannot make any other sound. That is the sound the bird makes. Or if we ask her to make what the Godzilla sounds like, she just says "rar," and that's the same sound that dinosaurs make. It's the same sound. And then we ask her to make like a demon sound. It sort of all sounds the same.
That's the sound.
Yes, the sound of an eagle screech that we hit is actually, it's a red eagle. It's not red eagle. It's a red-tailed hawk that makes the screeching sound that's associated with bald eagles because of advertising. But bald eagles actually sound very sad. They're like,
Old MacDonald at karaoke. In which we discover Madame Askew cannot do animal sounds.
It is on the list of things that Madame Askew cannot do.
But also welcome Susie and welcome Justin. It's so wonderful to have both of you back. As you are new to our community, I'm really delighted to see you both. Welcome, welcome. We have things to talk about, but we got a little bit detoured into a bog and talking about animal sounds, and that's where
we're moving forward. Come to WoWOSCon. Make sure you've got your tickets and everything. Make sure you get your burlesque tickets. Those will sell out. They will sell out fast. So get on that.
If they have not sold out already, honestly, I haven't been keeping up. So if you can still get them good, you should do that. That is Friday night at the convention, and we are emceeing. It's produced by our dear friend Freddie Prince Charming and our wonderful partner in all sorts of shenanigans. Eve Riot is one of the performers that night. It's going to be absolutely delightful. And then Saturday night, for those who are musically inclined, there is a wonderful concert, and our dear chum, the airship ambassador, will be emceeing that delightful evening. Also, good night, Ty. Thank you for joining us as long as you were able. I know you were up early like a gopher on top of a slate roof. I'm so happy you lived through that experience.
The bib bird must be going to bibs. The bib bird must go to bib.
The bib bird must go to bed to recuperate. But yes, you shall be missed. We all adore you, Ty. Thank you for your wit and your whimsy and committing to the bit. Also, look, what does a fox say? I can't do it.
I'm not looking at you. Is this fox gone to the circus?
Yes. Absolutely, it's gone to the circus. So tomorrow we have Sip the Tea at 10 a.m. Pacific. Next month we are just going to have Friday teas for the most part, leading up to Wild West Con. But of course,
Madame Askew must return to her sewing fortress to sew and so and so.
Yes,
lest I put my jaundiced eye towards her. May the eye of the Grand Arbiter turn to her and look upon her in terror.
Oh dear, not that, anything but that. So Saturday afternoons, we have the Saturday Crafternoon in Discord. Anyone is welcome to join us there. I sew from my sewing dungeon, where I am ever working to get closer to completed on this costume.
You've gotten very far.
Yes,
you've gotten very far, and you've found lots of interesting solutions, and you've learned lots of lessons.
Yes, I have learned so many from my fortress of sewitude. That's really good. That's good. I like that. And thank you, Susie. Oh, thank you, my friend. Yeah, on Tuesday nights, I'm on Twitch, also sewing, working from my fortress of sewitude and answering sewing questions. And that happens at 5 p.m. Pacific time on Twitch. And it's a couple of hours of chatty sewing and nonsense. And Justin, I'm so happy you're making more hats. Come and join us in the Discord. If you have not joined our Discord yet, yes, we promote it a lot. Yes, we talk about it every week. There are many reasons why we encourage all of you to join us there. Some of them are simply because certain platforms are no longer that effective at connecting with you. And we really want to connect with you. The point is to have a community. And in order to have a community, we need to be able to chat with each other and see you regularly and just connect. And so if you are able to join us on Discord, that is the most lively place these days. It is where the conversation is happening. And it is where we get up to so much nonsense. Of course, we're here every Friday night, but we have added these additional nights of the week where we're doing some fun things. So.
It's more to make sure that Madame Askew doesn't go mad in the Fortress of Solitude. It's really just it's a process to ensure that Madame Askew doesn't go fully insane.
That is correct. And also, I love this. Susie, this is wonderful. I'm so happy that I inspired you to get out there and create. That is the whole vibe. So come join us in Discord if you're able. If not, do join us on Tuesday evenings on Twitch, and Friday I recommend YouTube or Twitch for the Friday teas, but I know some of you are still tuning in from YouTube, and I really am grateful for all of you being there. It's just that I also know that user interface is not quite as nice and as easy to work with as the other ones. So that's why I tend to recommend elsewhere these days. Anyway, Grand Arbiter, your turn. Tag it.
Okay. As a reminder, all of this is made possible through the loving support and dollars of our patrons. May your Luca make you lusciously filled with joy and whimsy.
Yes, and thank you, Patreon subscribers. You really do keep our teapots full of joy and also tea.
And the gas on, so we don't freeze to death in this cold and wintry time.
Yes. Or in my case, the fan's moving, so I don't die in the sweltering times.
It's really sort of like a combination of both for you.
Yes, it is. The hot flashes never go away, so it is always a combination. But
so we actually have every week, of course, everyone knows we do Patreon's Corner. This week we have a bit of a problem. We have a dead heat between two topics. Sometimes I just make an executive decision, but they're such good topics that I feel like one of us needs to decide. So either Madame Askew is going to decide or I will decide, but we will determine through the power of random chance.
Dun dun dun! Random chance, Grand Arbiter.
The two options are a discussion on monikers.
Ooh.
Or I will spend a solid amount of time trying to explain to Madame Askew and to y'all some of how I remember Magic the Gathering plot stories for a trading card game. But fresh from my memory, I have not done any research this week to prepare myself. It will just be off the dome.
Oh, off the dome, as it were.
Yes.
All right, Grand Arbiter. And how are we going to engage with random chance?
Well, in fact, I have a solution.
I love that. I love a solution. Also, Susie, please stay warm. That sounds so cold. Oh my gosh. That sounds so cold. That sounds terrible.
Okay, so I have this handy dandy wheel. It's called the Picker Wheel. I found it on the internet.
Oh, excellent.
not particularly exciting. It will pick us things. It has ads. That's fine.
That's fine.
One
All right.
side will be me. One side will be Madame Askew. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
That's all. I just got to click the button and it'll go.
All right. Click that button, Grand Arbiter. Oh, I win.
Madame Askew wins.
I win. Oh my goodness. Well, Grand Arbiter, I would like to talk about monikers, a retrospective.
You have selected. That is your choice. I feel like I think it would have been very fun to discuss matters most magical, but you know,
well,
the people voted and then the wheel decided. I have been chosen against on multiple fronts.
Grand Arbiter, you know,
corruption in my own home.
That as the runner-up, your topic will return from the topic's treasury.
I mean, it will return to the treasure, into the search for voting next week.
That's correct.
Let's see if people are still charmed by it then.
Yes. So, my darlings, we are going to talk about monikers and something to know about our wonderful tea and tomfoolery and our general nonsense that we get up to is that if you come to tea duels or teapot racing or compliment duels or any of these interactive adventures with us, there may be a moment, a little bit of magic may occur, and the name may be delivered unto you. Now, you need not accept the name, you need not keep the name, but if you like it, you must grab onto it with both hands and use it in your steampunk life and also remind us of it at every opportunity, because we are fonts of monikers, but our brains.
Let's talk about monikers that are the closest monikers to ourselves. And we'll move out from there. So we're gonna go to some real life conversations just for a minute.
Oh, all right.
Because I feel like if we're going to tell stories about monikers,
we should discuss
we should start from our own.
All right. Grand Arbiter, would you like
to first, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, did it. It's a very, they were kind of close together.
They were very close together. So this is my recollection. We're going to go.
I know when I started using mine because I was so cold that it was frozen into my memory.
Yes. So we're going way back into the haze.
Oh, time. Oh, can we feel the years passing by? Woo!
Is it a duck walk? Is it a time machine? You'll never know.
Time machine duck walk.
So we have gone back to our origins as time travelers together. How long ago? It was many duck walks ago.
I think it was 13 duck walks. 13 duck walks? 13 or 14 duck walks?
13 or 14.
It's not 12 duck walks. It's definitely more than 12 duck walks.
It is. It's like 13 or 14.
I think it's 14 duck walks.
I think it is 14. I think it's 14. Yeah. So
I think it's older. Yeah, no, it's 14 duck walks.
I think so. So we go way back, and first comes our little. Yes, I love this. Quack. First, it's our first Dickens tea. And our first tea duel together, where I and the Grand Arbiter.
Yours does come first because we were doing tea dueling. It was not the first tea duel that mine came up.
No.
But it was the first tea duel that yours came up.
No, mine came slightly after this first tea duel, but the first tea duel sort of started to inspire things because we decided at that first tea duel that what tea dueling really needed was to be treated more like a Japanese game show.
I think that we discussed it was like Japanese game show or WWE. Like we wanted commentators is the big thing.
Yes, we did. And we wanted to
we
commentate.
wanted that commentary to be quite colorful. A Prismacolor amount of commentary.
A whole rainbow explosion of commentary, if you will. And so then the question started being, well, what are our handles going to be as you know, these
as performers, but but at the time it was just like, how do we want to engage with each other? Like, are we judges? What is our business?
So Dickens Tea, when we used to host that,
Dickens Tea was a very popular, now defunct, maybe come back someday if the stars align in a perfect alignment and money remains from the ceiling.
I'd say it's in retirement and it's happily there at the moment. Yes. But it was the January after that Dickens Tea. We always did Dickens Tea in December. And in January that year, we decided to do a character development workshop. Is it a cow or a fox?
It's a fire truck.
So at that we still had the sort of like little bit of inspiration of the Dickens tea dueling still in our heads. And I love this event emeritus is good. You're all the best. You're all the best. It's definitely a shrew. It's always a shrew. So we were at the character development workshop and we were still thinking about what this was going to be and what our names were going to be. And I was, as I tell the story, I was late for me, but still early for everyone else. But I had this sort of sensibility that I should be 30 minutes early to all of the events so I could get everything set up and organized. And instead, I was only 15 minutes early. So I was running around in a hectic fashion. And the Grand Arbiter was there with me as well, because I think I drove us in the Dashi.
I think so. This is the part where I get a little confused because it's sort of hard to remember if I was present for that first exchange or not.
You were, because you had a section of the character development workshop that was all yours that you taught.
I remember that.
Yours was like the motivation and philosophical underpinnings of character.
Right.
So at this character development workshop,
just to be clear, Madame Askew is required to maintain the records of time. I live in the now.
And also I'm distracted because this is very funny. So we're at this character development workshop and we're talking people through and helping them develop their characters. And I was running late and my chapeau that I put on my head had increasingly sort of gotten unmoored and moved further and further to the side of my head. And I was very exasperated. It was like an iceberg. I was very exasperated and I was running around and my hat was like halfway falling off.
Well, and the reason you're 30 minutes early to stuff is because you want to not feel harried, but you were harried is the best way.
I was harried and I was still there. We were there before our students arrived and everything, but it was still
like someone still had to unlock the door to the library room that we were using.
Yeah, all of that and just set out our worksheets and do all the things. And so I was like running around and one of our dear chums, Temperance, turned to me and she said, "Oh, you're so askew." And I was like, "Yes, I know I'm askew. I'm out of control. I'm running late and my hat's falling off." She's like, "No, that's such a good name. You should be askew. You should be, I don't know, Lady Askew or Duchess Askew or oh, I don't know. What about, I don't know." And I said, "Well, I don't know how I feel about this. I don't want to be a lady or a duchess."
We don't really love the aristocracy.
I have very complicated
We
feelings.
we have reservations.
We do. We're not very keen on kings.
We have reservations to observe the guillotine. We have opera glasses and reservations.
So, it's stuck though. It's stuck and it sort of morphed. And I was like, well, I like Madame. Madame really like has a nice ring to it with Askew. So I'm Madame Askew, and you know,
and part of Madame Askew is because at that point you had already gotten sort of impacted by the Solus books a little bit at that point.
Yes, I'd already been reading Gail's wonderful Parasol Protectorate books. There were several out at that point, and ooh, complicated feelings about the monarchy. Yes. So I was definitely picking up some of those whimsical vibes from Gail Carragher's work.
Well, and you love, I think if I'm remembering correctly, the concepts of Madame LeFou was one of your favorite characters at the time.
Well, I definitely liked Madame LeFou. I didn't want to be her.
No, I meant like the terminology was like the same kind of status of person.
Yes.
You wanted to be a person not tied to the aristocracy, but like, and Duchess Askew does sound like a border collie.
Yes. Bark.
See, this is why we don't bark. Yes. That's what dogs do. Good job. Excellent. A+. Woof. So yeah, so that was where it started, and then it morphed.
Right. Then we were having like this conversation on the way back because we were riding together, and I think that's where you started being like,
well, "That is not," but it didn't happen like that.
Well, please regale us.
So we did discuss it. Mine took the longest, I think, of all of us.
Yours took the longest.
Because I had like a character I had in mind, but I didn't like the character name. We have long forgotten the name in the sense that no one talks about it anymore, and it doesn't matter, and it's not the character that I present in any capacity.
I will not mention the name, although
I mean, it was a cute name. There was nothing wrong with the name.
No.
It was just the character having a name. The more we worked on the character, because we were trying to create this sort of like dynamic, and the dynamic was sort of not really inspired by us, but sort of inspired by like a concept of a comedic duo. I wasn't like, again, this is sort of something that we naturally fell into. It wasn't like a choice, but we sort of like naturally fell into a certain kind of rhythm. And when that became more apparent, it was like, well, we can't just be Gregory Von Steele and Madame Askew, or Ptolemy Hargrave and Madame Askew, or
it had
Samson O'Doul and Madame Askew. Like, it doesn't
needed a title.
It needed a title, and the character needed to be sort of like, if Madame Askew is kooky and kind and sort of, yes, contrast. If Madame Askew is kooky and kind and compassionate, and the Arbiter is got the other side, the other person has to be cold, authoritative, and a master of the rules, right?
Stern, not cold.
Stern and unyielding. Unyielding.
You're very firm, Grand Arbiter.
Very firm. Erect with potential.
Woof woof.
But we were trying to figure out a title, and I hate the word judge. I love judging people. Don't get me wrong. I love judging people. Like, love it. Judging the verb, hot, sexy. We love her. But judge the word, like the noun, not a great experience.
No.
I have notes. I always have notes.
That's true.
I've learned after a long time that Madame Askew needs compliments first. If I give her notes first, she will think I hated it.
That's correct. We must deliver everything as a compliment sandwich. That is the rules of our friendship. It must all be delivered.
Like a dog, I must hide the notes inside a well-wrapped ham of compliments.
That's correct.
The medication must be hidden in the cheese.
Correct. It's not a spoonful of sugar, it's a cube of cheese for me.
But so it was really difficult to figure out what we wanted the title to be. The title was actually really proving to be quite difficult. Because we weren't really sure what we wanted it to be. And we needed it to be sort of sound fancy, but we wanted it to be sort of general. So it was a very hard place to be. And then I was just running with ideas and running with words. And I was inspired. Okay, so we are at this event. It is outside in the middle of February or something.
It's this time of year, actually.
Yeah, so it was this time of year. And it was this time of year, and it was freezing for Tucson. It was like easily in the it was in like the 40s.
It was, and it was a day in which it looked like it was going to be a lovely day at the beginning.
And the clouds just rolled in like as we got started, and it was windy. And it was before Madame Askew was making me clothes.
It's true.
And so I was wearing a very simple steampunk outfit, which is like a dress shirt and suspenders. So I was freezing. She thought I might die. And this was sort of like a waif of a twink, right? I'm still quite twinky at my rough old age of 37,000. But
not like you were at a mere 2,300.
No, at 2,300, I was way far thin.
You were so young and so thin that, like, if we turned you sideways, you'd disappear.
Yeah, and I was gaunt, and the clothes that I had were a little bit too big, and everything was a little weird. But I was like inspired by. So I have always, for as long as you've known me, and as long as I've been, since I was like 10 or 11, been super obsessed with Magic the Gathering, like in a huge way. What was the Renaissance like? It was much dirtier than you imagine.
The plumbing was dodgy, and also the system of governance almost everywhere was a problem.
Well,
really.
And I gotta tell you, Leonardo is real not great at the compliments. He really wants to talk about everybody's smile not being what he expected.
He's such a pill. Give me Tishan any day.
So I was very inspired by Magic the Gathering, and I was inspired by a faction in one of the games who is led by Grand Arbiter Augustine IV, which I was like, this is such a great vibe for a character. I want to sort of gather that. And so I just chose the Grand Arbiter as the concept of the character, and we sort of rolled with it.
One of my favorite things about this title, my darling, is that I did not know it was related to Magic the Gathering until just like 4 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Right. I had no sense. I was like, oh, the Grand Arbiter just pulled this out of his brain, created it. It's fantastic. I love it. It's got such a wonderful rhythm to it, and it really suits you. and the role you portray in our dynamic, in our little duo.
And I like the title. The consequence of this title has followed me a little bit, though. So, okay. We are going to do a little bit of magic storytelling, but not about the story, but just about magic culture.
All right.
We're going to do some culture analysis. I know you love that.
I
love
that.
language analysis.
I do.
Okay. So Grand Arbiter Augustine IV is from a set of magic called Ravnica. He's from a Ravnica plane. He's a blue-white aligned person, which means they're aligned with control and justice and intelligence. Appropriate, makes sense. The card itself is reviled. The card itself is incredibly hated, and is got like a real, like, the people who play it have a vibe, and there's like you play Grand Arbiter, you play in this color combination, and if you play this character, this card as your leader in your deck, you're a bad person. Like, not really a bad person, but it says something about you because the card is so reviled, because it's a card that makes your stuff cheaper and everyone else's stuff more expensive. Of course I am. The point is, it has had a weird consequence where I have to explain that no, I don't play that card. I don't play that way. I'm actually very fun to play with and not a bad person. This is just a character name that I decided to, it inspired me to create a new character who was not like this at all. I did not burn down Seattle. I did not start the Seattle fire. That was some other newspaper boy.
That was some other strumpet in the past. No, I love the whole story and the sort of background, but it's also really delightfully funny that this has had these sort of weird consequences for you.
It has. A moniker can follow you. A moniker can, like, carry forward. And it isn't, how dare you? It's sort of like you put it on the table and everyone's like, oh. It tells everyone on the table, like, oh, okay, well then. I fortunately am blissful enough to not play that card. I play different cards.
You do. You are very wise. You are sagacious. So, Grand Arbiter, we have spilled the tea on our names, but there are many monikers in the temporal entourage. And
some are really obvious, and some are less obvious.
Yes, that's true. Do you want to share a less obvious one? I was going to go through the team, but
we have the team, which they've all started somewhere, and some of them we're not going to even talk about their starting places, but the Butler Supreme is, of course, the intern that survived all trauma.
The intern who lived. So in the olden days, again, the Butler Supreme was our very first intern. He's been with us for almost 14 duck walks, and he started out as part, there was a gag that we had, this story about how our interns always died in a tea accident. Some tea-based explosion, the gunpowder tea exploded when the tea punks were blending it, or something would happen in the tea wars, or there'd be some accident with a butter knife, or a pile of scones would fall on people. And so we were always like, this is why we only have the one intern, because all of the other ones keep being murdered. And so we had all of these like fake names for interns, and we'd hold like little memorial moments for them. And so he was the intern who lived, and then it sort of morphed over time to he was the intern supreme, because we did start to have a few more interns, and then eventually he ascended to become the first butler, and so of course we had to call him the butler
He's
supreme.
the supreme.
And it is very much akin to the Spinal Tap drummers. Absolutely, 100%. And how do we get the butler reference card? I think we need to make a butler reference card for everyone with all of our butlers, a little, thumbnail, and then
Maybe we'll start a Madame Askew and Madame Askew, the Grand Arbiter, and the Temple Entourage trading card set. Maybe we'll start that.
Yes, I love that. And also, as far as we know, the Butler Supreme
is... Alicia's got it. Alicia's got it.
Yes. That's correct. Also true. And yes, this is how the scone mistress got her name. Those scones were so delicious, and they did not survive the night at Gaslight. It was so good. I have fond memories of those scones.
Butler Extravagance had a similar ascension to Second Butler Experience.
But you came up with their name, sort of. You came up with that. Before that,
I wanted it to be very clearly a separate area because I didn't want them to be both butlers. They couldn't both be the supreme, right?
No, they could not. They could not.
So it was just sort of like we sort of recognized that like we were embodying queerness, and extravagance is very queer. That is the vibe. That is the vibe we're bringing to that.
Absolutely.
That was the vibe.
It suits them because they bring a lot of extravagant energy to their costuming, their presence, and they have a big heart. They're very extravagant with their feelings, and so it suited them to a T. We also used to. He is no longer able to travel and perform with us. He is a full-blown adult with adult responsibilities, but we used to have wonderful Captain Tight Pants of the Sexy Pants Brigade. Was one of our butlers for a while. He always wore very snazzy trousers. So
there's a lot of like folks of our current team. We have some people who came with names, some that got names based on key costume pieces that inspired us.
Yes. Well, there's I think one of the most recent TT members who has such a brilliant name, and that was again a you creation.
Yeah, I think I have a tendency to have like a lot of the like. You have a lot of the like what's that, simmering names?
Simmering. Ooh, I like that.
Like you think a lot about before you give one out, and I am sort of struck by Athena generally, and they burst out of my head fully formed.
I do have a fair number of simmering names, but my most successful monikers tend to be things that are inspired by something in the moment. And they like, there's that lightning strike.
We have, like, in our team, we have Mathematica, Cruncher of Numbers, which is, of course, Sarah, who is one of our most beloved assistants and is currently one of our favorite people to work with in the sewing room.
Yeah, Sarah, who is so often my TA for classes and an absolutely phenomenal cosplayer, showed up her first time at Wild West Con and was dressed like a dragon pirate. And no, I think she was dressed as Smaug. So
it was the Smaug dress, yes.
She's in this huge, it's huge. You can hide 2 people under these skirts very easily, and they can be 6 feet tall. These skirts are so huge, and she wears dragon wings, and she's like this very fabulous couture interpretation of Smaug from The Lord of the Rings. And so we asked her to be our timekeeper and to do some math for us with
for
teapot racing.
Teapot Racing judging to do the score calculations.
Yes, yes,
So
and
she became Mathematica Cruncher of Numbers.
absolutely, and it suits her so perfectly. It's just the right, exactly right moniker for her. Captain Azar and Professor Azar, they chose their own names and they suit them to a T. So we're not going to mess with perfection. If you come with a moniker that suits you that beautifully, we're like, of course you are this thing that you have called yourself. Why would we discredit that or change
Sometimes
that?
we might give you like an additional moniker though.
That's true.
You
That's
can
true.
sometimes get like a blah 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 comma blah 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 of blah blah blah.
Yes.
A title in some instances.
As it were, we love to bestow titles. So we talked about the scone mistress who, is legendary for her baked goods in the community. We've had so many amazing tea duelists over the years.
The curiosity.
Oh my gosh, the cutosity, who's now like looking at graduate school, Grand Arbiter.
Nightmare.
I
We've
cannot,
aged. You're old now.
I know, I feel
My
so
bones!
oh, it's so hard.
Bones!
So hard to be old. It's really, you listen, you're 37,000 years old. I'm like 528 years old. I know people often think that I'm the elder and you're the younger. It's just that your genetics.
My genetics are pretty stellar. Yours are doing pretty good, but
yeah. So
some of them are less hot than others.
what is an obscure moniker that you particularly love that we haven't spoken of?
Well, I do love the peacock, of course.
Yes. So, and oh my gosh, we have given away so many.
There's so many. And I think that that's what really makes them stick is people who claim them. This is a little bit of a downer. But one of our most beloved, now past fans, when they first showed up, we gave them the title of the Mermaid Slayer. And they made an entire costume inspired by this moniker.
They were our original cheeky strumpets. And so whenever we talk about being cheeky strumpets, it's a little bit of an homage to Janelle, who was just a wonderful member of our community and just such an absolutely, she was a delight. She had so much enthusiasm, but she was really, that was her very first steampunk convention and she didn't know anyone. And we saw her in the crowd and we were like, you're gay, get over here and join us.
We pointed and screamed like the body snatchers from Invasion of the Body Snatchers. We just pointed at because we identified another queer person.
Right, Robert. That was the year you were there too, and Janelle was just like, that was a very treasured year. It was at Gaslight Expo, and it was before the pandemic, and there were just
it was before a lot of stuff. It was a long time ago, and I think that that's sort of like, I'm really glad that some of the monikers have like stood this test of time. And that's like really what's made them really special is that they've really lasted. Absolutely. And they're memorable. But the best part is when they remember them and we don't. And we're like, did we come up with that? Great.
Yes.
Good credit, I guess.
We're so happy you're using it because it was a really good one. And this harkens back to what I said at the beginning, that we cannot always remember the monikers. So it really helps us if you hold on to it, if you want to use it and remind us of it, because we'll run with your moniker. We're really keen on like the whole pseudonym experience.
I think that the most successful moniker of all time by like a pretty significant margin is the Lemon Pirates.
Yes.
Which inspired an entire like arsenal of different
so many pirates.
So many Lemon Pirates. There's a million of them.
Yes. So Commodore Evie is the OG captain of the Lemon Pirates. And the story behind this is it's delightfully Byzantine, but essentially I was running late to a panel in Phoenix. And I was running late because I had forgotten my badge and I had to like run back to my hotel room.
And we were not yet identifiable by the scene and get to be divas. My least favorite thing. I love being identified as important from a distance.
Good night, Susie. Stay warm in Minnesota. Stay snug. So I was running late. I was running back. I was literally jogging in a bustle dress and a corset. And
remember when you could do that?
I vaguely do remember that. It was an amazing time, but it was also like 116 degrees or 118 outside already. And so I thought I was going to expire from the heat in all of these layers. And I show up and I like hit the panel room doors and I can hear that they've just started. And I know there's no hope for it. I'm going to enter that room and I'm panting and I cannot stop heaving because I'm like winded and sort of overheating, and there's no way I can silently slip in and just like make my way discreetly to the panel table. I'm gonna have to walk from the very back of the room through the audience up to the table and be sort of an interruption. But fortunately,
well, and Madame Askew hates being late more than anything on earth. Like,
that's true.
There's few things on earth that Madame Askew hates more. It's like broken needles in the machine and being late.
That's true. I hate both of those things with a similar passion. So fortunately it was a silly panel and everything. So I knew that my fellow panelists would roll with me, and they knew me and they knew I was not typically late in this fashion, which all of those things helped. So I hit the door and I knew that I was going to need to have a reason why I looked like I was about to die and I was heaving. And so I created this story about how my airship had been sidelined by these very angry dwarves in Moria who were part of a strange pirate band, and they had been like stranded in Moria and they were hunting for lemons, and they heard that I had lemons as part of my tea kit, and they were like coming on board the airship to get the lemons, and it was madness. And I'm just like spinning this tale as I walk up to the panel. But of course, friends are there and they're hearing this story, and it starts to get a little bit elaborated amongst other friends. And we chat about it a little bit. And so at the next convention, which was Gaslight Expo, our dear friend Evie showed up dressed as one of these lemon pirates. She had a bandolier of like lemon squeezers and like lemon badges, and she did this whole like yellow ensemble, and she just like she was an absolute delight. We were like,
it's one of the things I really miss about having two West Coast conventions for steampunk is that when we had two West Coast steampunk conventions, which were distinctly far apart in what type of year they happened, we could make some joke up here, and then at the end of the year there'd be someone in a costume for that joke. And it is something that I desperately miss about West Coast conventions, because now we get to go to lots of places that are really great. Compostable is incredible. Of course, we love Wild West Con, and we also love all the other conventions we get to go to. But there's something really magical when it's very easy for the same group of people to go to the same convention twice. And this is why I always say you should go to 2 steampunk events a year if you can, because it's really nice to carry a theme forward.
It is. Well, and we love our jokes and our bits, but we love them most when they're shared with our wonderful community.
Because
And that
this
we
is
can
not the
all
first,
play
like,
with
this is
them.
not, this is one of many organizations, monikers, and things that were inspired by these things. And I think that that's something that, like, I want to recapture in the next year. I think that's something we really want to capture in the next year.
Yeah, I
So
miss it too, Grand
if
Arbiter.
you listen to stuff that we're talking about, or if you are looking to do stuff like you want to do more stuff that's storytelling component stuff, the best way to do that is to let us know in the Patreon about what you'd want, because that really does inspire us to make the content.
Yeah.
Madame Askew and I are limited in our resources continue to shrink a little bit in terms of time, just because we are challenged in lots of ways right now, and there's lots of things that need to be done. Our honey-do list is very long, and to get to the fun things, the Patreon is part of the reason that we can get to any of the fun things at all. That's because true. The honey-do list is eternal.
That's true. Also, as an aside, good night, Scone Mistress. Thank you so much for being here, and also for making so many wonderful baked goods.
Yeah, I think that there should be more events in the PNW. I think the big thing is we need more events inside. Brass Screw's great, but like it's outside. I can't be outside for that long. I'll melt. I'll die. True.
Also, hello, Dawn. Hello, Patsy. Oh my gosh, I miss you both so much. I miss you. I hope you're doing well and staying well and all of the things. But no, the PNW is such a beautiful area, and they used to have one of the most prestigious steampunk conventions, SteamCon of sainted memory. And when that went away, like, many communities in steampunk, not to be too moribund, but many communities in steampunk sort of organize around their local or regional convention. And as the conventions have had to disappear for various reasons, those communities are not as able to gather together and to do fun things together. It's a little bit harder when you don't have an event to draw you together to do things. We're very fortunate to have Wild West Con here in the Sonoran Desert. It's our home show. The Grand Arbiter grew
and
up
it's one of the best in the country, if not the planet.
We love the show.
Incredible. It's an incredible show. Yeah. It's the only steampunk convention I know of that you can get a tattoo.
That's true. I don't know of any other, although I mean maybe they're out there and we just don't know. But it's going into year 13 of in-person conventions. There was a virtual convention in there as well. There were a couple of years where the convention could not happen because of the panini and other nonsense. But it continues to be here. It's a wonderful show. It's full of fantastic people doing fantastic programming. Of course, we're there. We're doing a lot there. We do our most at Wild West Con.
We have a real standing docket there.
Yeah.
And that's what I'd say is that, like, that standing docket is like very powerful stuff. But like, it's something that you really should start thinking about planning for is how can you do Wild West Con? How can you do other stuff? And also letting conventions that you do make it to that we aren't at, let them know that you want us there, because the magic only happens if we physically are in a space sometimes.
Yes.
Because Madame Askew and I are very funny here, but we are perfectly crazy in person. We're absolute wackadoos.
That's true. That there's a certain something that happens in person that is very ephemeral. So Grand Arbiter, this has been a wonderful little trip down memory lane.
Yeah, it's been a lovely little trip down memory lane. If you want your own moniker, they only happen in person generally. It's very rare for them to happen online. It's not happened online.
That's right, battery goodness.
But there was some physical components to most of these things. And, at a certain point, we're going to ask people if we've ever... here's what I'll say. If we've given you a moniker, you should talk about it in the Discord.
Yes,
Let us
please.
know what you think of the moniker, how you've utilized it in your creative forms, or how you feel like it inspires you as a part of the community. And it's not about earning them. Let me put it this way. It's not about earning them. No one's earned a moniker. No one has earned a moniker. A moniker is something that happens. It's not something that happens because someone did such a good job. It's because we had a moment of brilliance.
Yes.
Or we had a moment of inspiration, and that person either chose or got given a moniker to use.
It's always about some sort of like, there's an experience shared.
There's a moment. A moniker is not a title that we give that bestows honor. Our monikers bestow love. They're a symbol of how much we've chosen to invest in your friendship and your compassion, and how much we're inspired by the way that you engage with the world.
And here's the thing, if we haven't given you a moniker yet, if the moment hasn't happened, it doesn't mean that we don't adore you. Just the magic hasn't occurred yet.
And the only way to make sure it occurs is to be at more stuff. That's all I'm saying.
Yes. And also I love
it's like a shooting star. You just have to be there.
Yes, and this is true. Also, you are stuck with it, Bill, and you are a very good sport about being the buttery goodness. It's true.
Now he needs a little flag, or like a little emblem, like what's it called? A heraldry, but it has a piece of no, it's a piece of toast with a butter on it.
Oh yeah, like a little. Oh, that's so cute. I love that.
Or it could be that, or it could just be a croissant.
A croissant with a little pat of butter on it, or honestly, a scone with a pat of butter. Or butter goes with all things. Is the thing. It's very good, and we love to have butter.
It's a heraldry that has like a corn, a toast, a scone, a pancake, and then it's just like one butter pat at the middle.
Yes, that's it. We found it. It's a heraldic device with butter. It's perfect. And also, Lady June Squirrel, I love that you chose your own because it suits you to an absolute T. You could not have a better moniker than June Squirrel. It is everything. It absolutely represents you in the best fashion. And also, I just love it as a name. It's just so fantastic. It's like peak. So, yeah. Grand Arbiter.
Okay.
I love when we get to be sentimental and talk about,
we have a incredibly illustrious history for with Butterwater.
That's good.
That's how he earned his bars.
I love this too. Oh, that's lovely. That's wonderful, Molly. I love that. So good.
And I think that that's sort of what I would say is like a moniker isn't a name. Like, I think that's the big thing. Is that sometimes it is a name, but it's not explicitly a name. It talks about our relationship to you. And that's what it really represents. It's our relationship to you. And we still love all of our fans and everyone who gets to participate in our stuff. The moniker really is just a definition. You are ephemeral and not yet defined if you don't have a moniker net. And that just means that it will be a beautiful moment when you get one.
And one may appear, and you may choose not to keep it, because I think
people said, "Oh, I don't like that one. Can we throw it back?" And we're like, "It's like a cart, baby. Carpe diem. Carpe D's nuts."
Also, the best monikers are stolen. Lady June Squirrel, perfect. Yes, the Grand Arbiter thrifted his, and
borrowed. He's technically dead as a character. He was murdered, so that's fine.
borrowed, and I purloined mine as well. So that absolutely is a very solid choice. We will be back next week for more Friday tea, but it's very special tea. It's the most special tea of the year. In fact, we've never had a more special Friday tea.
Silence.
So you should really come next week because it is the most special Friday tea we've ever had.
I guess it is. So tell all your friends about the most specialty, the specialty.
Yes. And yes, we do love you all of you. And Don, I miss you and Patsy so much, but I'm very happy knowing you are like up in the PNW and happy and have beautiful life. So
and maybe we'll come down for Worldcon, which we'll be at. So if you're like in the PNW region and you're going to like, I don't know what I'm going to do this summer, Worldcon is where we're going to be. So if you're like, where do I want to be? We'll be at Worldcon, and we'll be there with literally every author we've ever met historically.
We're going to have a very gay all time. It's going to be so wonderful. And then next week we'll have our super secret, very special, extra
specialty, right? The specialty.
Absolutely. And tomorrow I'll be hosting my interview with Chaz Kemp at 10 a.m. Pacific here on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. And then in the afternoon at 2 p.m. Pacific, I host Saturday Crafternoon in Discord. Please join me there, and also join us Tuesday nights on Twitch for our wonderful Stitch and Twitch sewing chat starting at 5 p.m. Pacific. In the meantime, my darlings, please remember to treasure yourselves as we treasure you, to take very good care of yourselves. Wash your hands, get your vitamins and minerals, drink the good tea, seize your moniker, steal a name for yourselves, or come to one of our events and grab a name there. And dear Dawn, Worldcon is in Seattle. This year it's in August. I'm
grabbing the link.
Thank you, Grand Arbiter. You're so good. Have a good night, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you all for being here and joining us for our Friday tea this week. It's been such a lovely conversation. The link for Worldcon is now in the comments, thanks to the Grand Arbiter. And so I bid you all a very good night, Arbiter.
It's not goodbye. It's see you later.